Okay, good afternoon, students. Let's try this again. I tried to make this video, but I didn't do a very good job, so I'm going to give it a second shot here. We are covering the grammar for Unit 2.1, and let me share my screen with you, and we'll try to learn something here. Okay, so in this grammar video, we're going to cover the hypothetical conditional, the past hypothetical conditional. As you know, there are lots of different types of conditional sentences. We have zero conditional, which typically talks about permanent facts. We have first conditional, which typically talks about future possibility. And we have second conditional, which is typically used for imaginary situations. This lesson focuses on the third conditional, which is called the hypothetical conditional past. And we use this to talk about something that could have happened, but it didn't. Or maybe it should have happened, but it didn't. Or it should not have happened, but it did. So let's look at this example here. If I hadn't eaten that shellfish, I would have been fine. So we can see that she should not have eaten it, but she did eat it, and then there was a consequence. Okay, now if is not the only word that we use with these conditionals. Another word we can use is supposing, and another word you could use as is imagine. Okay, but it follows the same pattern here. We have the if, then the subject, and then we have verb 3, or sorry, past perfect, which is had or hadn't with verb 3. And then in the main clause, we have would have been, okay, or would have done. So it follows the same pattern here. We have supposing, and then the subject, and then the past participle, or sorry, past perfect, had met, and then in the main clause, would and have said. They just made this one into a question. Supposing you had met the president, what would you have said? Now, it could have happened. You could have met the president, but you didn't. But if you did meet the president, what would you have said? Imagine you had missed the flight. What would you have done? So again, you didn't miss the flight. You could have, but you didn't. And what would you have done if you had missed the flight? In more formal context, sometimes we won't use the if at all, and we will put the had at the beginning. We'll invert the subject and the had. Invert just means it changes places. This is actually quite common. You'll hear it a lot. Had I known her, I would have said hello. Now, I didn't know her, but I could have known her, and if I had, I would have said hello. And this is a little bit less common. Instead of using if, we use but for. And we use but for plus a noun. Sometimes a noun will take the gerund form. But for Wilkinson's heroics, they would have lost the match. What that really means is if it hadn't been for Wilkinson's heroics, they would have lost the match. Or if he hadn't been so heroic, they would have lost the match. So but for is a replacement of if. And it takes a little bit different structure though, so be careful with that one. Mixed conditionals are used to say how, if something had been different in the past, the present or the future would be different. So it mixes that past with the present. If she had listened to me, she wouldn't be in debt now. But really, it takes very similar structure. Okay, if plus past perfect, and this time in the main clause we have would plus the base form instead of would have. Okay, so there's no have in this one, the mixed conditional. All right, now let's go on to regrets. You guys learned about regrets in your other classes in Pearson. So this will just be a quick review, a couple new things maybe. We can use the word regret plus a gerund, or we can use if only plus past perfect, or wish plus past perfect. All of those mean we want something in the past to have been different. So I regret going out last night. That means we wish, again, just like this one, that he did not go out or I did not go out. So I regret going. So just pay attention here to the grammatical structure. After regret, we have this ing form. Here, if only I hadn't left the oven on. So I did leave the oven on, but I'm sorry that I did, and I wish that it was different. And same thing with wish. He wishes he had gone to the university. So he didn't go to the university, but he wishes things were different, that he had gone to the university. So again, just pay attention to the structure of each of those. Sometimes we can use if only with past simple. Okay, so notice up here, if only is with past perfect. So it has this meaning. You want something different in the past. If we use if only plus past simple or wish plus past simple, that means we want something to be different now. If only we had some matches. That means I really want some matches now, but I don't have them. I wish you were here. That means I want you to be here now, but you're not. So notice this is with past simple. Up here, this is with past perfect. And so it does have a different meaning depending on the structure that you use. Sometimes with if only and wish, we use the verb were instead of was, even if it's a singular subject. And that's called the subjunctive mood. It's a holdover from Latin that English just kept for some reason. So sometimes you might say, I wish he was here, or I wish he were here. They would both be acceptable. Were is considered a little bit more formal when we use it with those singular subjects in the subjunctive mood with if only and wish. And then last one, for some reason, Pearson really wants to teach you in the advanced course how to express when you're annoyed by something. We learn how to do that with the continuous, and we learn how to do that with present habits. And now you're going to learn how to do it with the hypothetical conditional. So you can use if only plus would or wish plus would to show we are annoyed by something now. If only you'd be more sensible. Okay, that means that I want you to change because you're not very sensible. That's very annoying that you're not sensible. I wish you would be quiet. Okay, I want you to change now because you're too noisy and you're annoying. So we use that I wish with would to express that annoyance. Okay, so that takes care of the hypothetical conditional past. If you feel like you are not an expert in any of these hypothetical conditionals, let me know and I will send you some materials that you can study. Can get confusing when there are so many different types. So I'll be happy to send that to you, and just give me a chat or an email. All right, and I will post the grammar for 2.2 momentarily.